We commissioners are required to have 16 hours a year in continuing education. Bet y'all didn't know that. We go down to College Station, and we get our 16 hours there. During legislative year, we get them in Austin. We'll also network with the legislature while they're in session. And that's a requirement for us. And, of course, we have an association that we can turn to for legal counsel. A lot of this stuff I've learned by the seat of my pants. A lot of stuff, when I came into office 14 years ago, and some of the commissioners that had been there a long time, they were trained in like it was 20 or 30 years ago. Well, times change, and what was appropriate 20 or 30 years ago is no longer appropriate. So you have to know where to change. And I've always been very fortunate that I've served on a court that was open, and you could get knowledge from them. And so, you know, it's just you absorb it, but you never just stay still. You know, today alone, I've been dealing with grants on disaster relief. There's a lot of y'all that probably don't know that I went to Anniston, Alabama, and I am certified up through 5 levels in disaster training. Because if Hopkins County has a disaster, each one of your commissioners will go to their precincts, and that's who you'll turn to. You'll start with us. We'll be out there opening your roads, making sure that you can get emergency vehicles in.
So I'm thinking of the two who will be running right in the council.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, you know, when they make their presentations, they make them based on what their aspirations are, what they would like to see done. And yet, they've not walked that path yet. So you vote in a way out of trust that they're going to be able to afford and do what you're talking about, because they wouldn't have the experience even for the job you're running for.
In my opinion, if they've got a sound business background, now I look at stuff a little bit different from everybody else, because when I came into office, women don't just grow up going, hot dang, I hope I can get on the motor grader and go fix a road. It just really wasn't in my cup of tea category. And I ran on a business background, because I'm going to tell y'all, government needs business, and it needs the hard decisions. And let me tell you, when you're an elected official, it's not always easy to cut somebody's budget, because you're going to make somebody mad, and you're really going to need that vote to get back in office. That's why I'm very honored that I usually win by 52 and 53%, because that means that I'm in a rotation of making people mad and happy. I don't need to win by 80%. I mean, because then people need to know that I will say no, and I do say no, and I take some heat for it. But I'm going to say no for y'all. If you don't have the money, there's not a magic printing press in the basement of the courthouse. I want y'all to know that. Mm-hmm. Sure.
Yeah, you know, Howard tax. What about all these delinquent taxes that are out there? Because there's people that have a joint property company and they have not paid their taxes in 10 years. When does that, who initiates the collection of that?
Okay, you've got your tax assessor collector, and that is Miss Debbie Jenkins, located on Jefferson Street. We have lawyers that are hired. There's a law firm hired, Lineberger, and they work with her to collect the taxes, and they go through a whole, you don't want to just yank somebody's property. There's sometimes they try to pay you out. You look at their financial situation, you just try to work with them. Nobody wants to kick somebody out as long as they're trying. And when they quit trying is where the lawyers kick in. And at a certain time, they'll bring it to Debbie. We very seldom ever see it until it gets to the courthouse steps. But Debbie collects, I believe it's pretty close to 97 point something of the taxes that are, I can't think of the right word, but the taxes against the property. And so she does a really good job. But there are people like you're talking about in... Mm-hmm. Yeah. We could, I'd have to know which piece of property it was to give you an exact answer, but I do know that that's how the system works. And at a certain I'm surprised there's some on there at 10 years. 5 years doesn't surprise me. 10 does, because at a certain time they start going through the process that they're going to have to sell them on the courthouse steps. Now, there's some property that's out there that nobody wants it. Honestly, and that's where y'all have heard of the Nehemiah Foundation. And I think John's involved with that. That's where, when that property gets down to the point that there's just, nobody wants it, it's not on the tax roll, it's never going to generate that type of taxes, then the Nehemiah Foundation will make they're kind of working with the city, the county, or they're trying to work with the county, the school. They were definitely working with the city on having this property just written over to them. And then they've got a program set up where they will train somebody how to own a house, how to be financially accountable, and then they help them get a house on that property, and then the whole thing rolls back onto the tax roll, which I think is very good. And but I'm sorry, if you'll give me the name of where you're talking about, I'll double check on it for you. Anybody else?
This is a pet peeve. Greenville, this is probably state and federal, but you probably don't have anything to do with it. The city of Greenville, every overpass in Greenville is getting widened. This Broadway overpass here across the Interstate 30 with 154 and Highway 11 all bottlenecking, and that overpass in the dinner hour and then the 5 o'clock rush hour is backed up all the way to Broadway. Is somebody seeing this or watching this?
We actually do. TxDOT, number one, they have a website that you can go to, and you'll see all their projects listed. And they usually have a 5-year plan. And projects such as the Broadway Street overpass, I don't think it's on their 5-year plan. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you, but that's how the system works. And they get they have plans, and they plan 5 years out. Their money comes out of different categories for different issues, and you kind of have to, once it hits, your first challenge is to get it on the 5-year plan. Once it gets on the 5-year plan, then you got to keep an eyeball on it to make sure it doesn't get dropped somewhere, because they're real bad about another project will come up that looks better, and yours will get pushed back. Kind of like what happened to 154 for years, and now we finally got the Seymour section of 154. The next section that is south of the Seymour community is supposed to be let probably at the end of this summer, and then the last challenge on 154 will be the 4 miles back into Shook's Chapel, and that's really going to be a challenge because it takes a lot of they're trying to get those dips and hills, and they're trying to narrow the right-of-way so we don't have to purchase it. But I'll look, and I'll mention, I think mainly they've been concerned with getting the loop open where 11 crosses 154 and goes over to 19. Once that gets open, I think you'll notice the traffic on Broadway will be relieved. It won't be the best thing in the world, but it'll be better than what it is right now. Yeah, nothing with TxDOT happens fast. I mean, it's just, I've been here 14 years, and I think H.W. Hopkins was here, 18, 19, and I think before his time they were working on 154. So, I mean, TxDOT is just, you just have to be methodical with them. And so it will happen, but I'll ask Craig Miser, who's the district director, if it is on his scope of work. Have you noticed Greenville gets everything? They've got restaurants, they've got they got a Starbucks, and that's what I'm worried about. Anyway, well, once they get, I don't know, that's a good question. Sometimes TxDOT doesn't, have you ever tried to get a traffic light? They want to know how many people died there first. They don't care that, one died and it's a possibility of how many wrecks, but once you get the death count up, then they'll work on you. I can ask them, Pam, because I think we need the Broadway Street overpass on there. I mean, it would be wonderful.
Sometimes a petition makes more noise than just one person approaching, like on Farm Road of 71.
Mm-hmm.
We ran a petition to get that open again.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had over 1,000 on there.
See, that's awesome.
The attorneys are sending it there to see if they can get that open for us. So to me, 1,000 people would make notice of something.
Is 70 the one that's flooded right now?
It's been flooded for 7 months.
Okay, I think that there's movement on that, so I think y'all are doing good. You're 1,000 no voices. Guys, I've enjoyed this so much. If y'all have got any more questions, just feel free to ask me. If you think about it later on, I'm at the courthouse, and not too much I don't have my fingers in or know what I can find you an answer even if I don't know it. So may God bless y'all and take care.